Welcome to the Solo Grind, your weekly coffee break with a fellow solo entrepreneur who's right there in it with you. I am Teresa Schloop, the original caffeine creative, and this is where real business meets real life. No hype, just honest conversations about building a business on your own terms. We talk mindset, strategy, burnout, breakthroughs, and everything in between, because going solo doesn't mean doing it alone. Grab a cup of coffee, find your favorite spot, and let's talk about what it really takes to do this thing solo. Hello and welcome to the Solo Grind. I am Teresa Schloop, your host, and I am a brand essentials and web designer who works with solo entrepreneurs to help them show up with clarity and authenticity online. And I am so excited to have you here with me today because today's episode was inspired by a brain blip. That is right, friends, a brain blip on my part. And let me tell you the story. The other day, I was recording an episode with one of our upcoming guests, and it was a really great conversation. We always have great conversations, and we had just made like a really good point that I think is really going to resonate with my audience. And then all of a sudden, I completely blanked out. Like my brain froze and I could not move forward. So why does this happen? Why did I just shut down? Why did my brain signal, girlfriend, we are done? It's because of that invisible, never-ending to-do list that was going through my mind. I was thinking about another episode that I had recorded earlier this week. I was thinking about the emails that I need to get done, the marketing plan that I need to work with, the painting project that I have in my personal life in my house. I was thinking of so many things that just kept rolling through my mind that eventually my brain said, enough is enough. And right there, mid-conversation, in this fascinating conversation, to say the least, my brain froze and shut down. This is what happens when that invisible to-do list takes over. It takes over our life, and honestly, it keeps us from being productive, even though its whole purpose is to make us more productive. So today, my friends, I want us to take an up-close, intimate look at that invisible to-do list that is floating around in our brains, and let's break it down into what is creating that constant diatribe of to-dos, of check marks, of things that need to get taken care of. And then let's look at the problems it may be causing within our own business and how we can lighten it up just a little bit and not lose control of what we're really trying to do. So first of all, what makes us go into this mental overload? What are the things that are pulling up this to-do list in our brain? I would say I can break it down into 4 categories for me. Well, actually 5, okay? So the first one, it's all client-related stuff. Remembering project details. Follow-up emails, check-ins, a struggle a client is having, a new challenge that we've come up with in a project. Those kind of things is the first bucket that my mental to-do list stems from. The next one is the more admin logistical things about business, renewal dates, software updates, bills, deadlines, those kind of things, that day-to-day admin drudgery that can really take the spark out of your business. The next bucket is all of my marketing related stuff. Not just how do I want to show up, but when do I want to show up, and making time to ensure that I do show up. Then also making a point to get in there and engage with people who have responded or commented or connected or emailed, and then keeping that relationship going, because the relationship we build in our marketing is what fuels our business for tomorrow. Now, bucket number 4 is my plans and dreams and goals for the future. I always have ideas in my head. I probably always have a bunch of ideas in my head. And there are so many things that I want to do, to explore, to add, to expand into. There's a lot of someday projects that float around in my brain. And those are something that often take up space and keep twirling around in my mind. And the fifth bucket is completely non business related. This is my personal life. This is things that I need to do around the house. This is things that I want to do with my husband, or maybe some kind of appointment with my pets. Maybe it's reaching out to my kids or planning a vacation with them or something. It's the personal life that starts creating this level of mental clutter in our mind. Here's what happens when we allow that mental clutter, that invisible to-do list to take over. First of all, when our brain has all the tabs open, it cannot focus. Have you ever tried to sit down at a computer and you've got 10, 20 tabs open? It honestly happens to me often, and sometimes it becomes so overwhelming that the only thing I can do is to close out of everything, take a deep breath, and restart what I'm focusing on. So that's one of the problems that this invisible to-do list causes. The other one that I tend to run into is that when you have so much going through your mind that needs to be done that you haven't been able to devote time to, you start feeling a lot less productive. You feel like you've gotten to the end of the day and you did nothing but work and accomplished nothing because there's still so much going on in the brain telling you, take care of me. Next, I honestly think that this brings about some serious decision fatigue and it drains our creative energy. Like a few weeks ago, we were talking about losing that creative spark in your business. This is one of the ways that we lose it, is getting so wrapped up in our invisible to-do list, constantly rolling through the things that we need to do. We lose our creativity and then we start struggling from some serious decision fatigue. Whereas things that were once easy to decide, we knew exactly how we would approach it. Now we're second guessing ourselves. Now we don't know which way to go. Now we can't look at the situation from all of the angles because we're just too dang tired to do so. This also increases the anxiety that we feel that is very normal for solo entrepreneurs. We carry around a lot of stress and worry. That is very normal, but this adds to it. Even when we're not necessarily stressed about the direction our business is going, this mental, invisible to-do list that never stops playing will create anxiety and have us second guessing ourselves. Now, the first thing that I want you to remember is that you are not alone in this. Everybody experiences this. You don't even have to be an entrepreneur or a solo entrepreneur to experience this invisible to-do list. This happens to everyone at some point in time. So this is perfectly normal. And it also is something that is perfectly easy to recover from. It takes a little thought and a little intention, but you can definitely move beyond this. And the more you practice silencing that mental to-do list and making it work for you versus against you, the quicker and easier it becomes to leave it behind so that you can stay focused. So let me share with you what I do to shut off the overwhelm and to minimize that constant internal to-do list in my brain. So the first thing is that I'm very intentional with my time, and each and every morning I create a plan for the day. Now, I actually start creating that plan at the end of the workday, the day before, because that's when things are fresh in my mind. That's when the real priorities are often clear to me because I'm like, this needs to get done. This deadline is coming up. This is something that will need extra time, whatever. So I start creating this just a little bit and I jot down some notes at the end of the day. And then in the morning, when I am fresh, when I am rested, when I've got a cup of coffee in hand and my pretty little notebook, I will create an intentional plan for the day. And I will even write myself an agenda. Here's what I'm going to do. And I start off with the priorities. Well, actually, let me say this. I start off with the self-care because self-care is should be part of your entrepreneurial day. Nobody else is going to take care of you. So you have got to make you a priority. So I start off with the self-care. Whatever I need to do to care for me, maybe I need to cook breakfast because I don't have enough prepped from my weekends. Whatever I need to do, I make sure that that goes on my to-do list, on my agenda, my written agenda for the day first. Then I think about what are the priorities in work today. Now, again, I started this yesterday, so I kind of already know what they are. But in the light of a new day with a fresh brain and a cup of coffee, sometimes I see that maybe that's not where I need to go. And so I write down what are my top 1 to 3 priorities for the day. I don't try to accomplish more than that. That honestly for me is a big accomplishment because most things are not super quick and easy. They're just things that need to be taken care of. And they're going to take a little bit more time and effort to do so. Then I think about what are my bonus tasks? If everything flows beautifully today, if all things line up and I'm able to close out my top priorities with time to spare, is there any bonus tasks that I want to add in? Is there some small pet project that I'm working on or something else that I could do? Maybe a client project I could work ahead on a little bit just to feel like I'm getting ahead. Okay. Those are my bonus tasks. And then the last thing that I do is I look at the have tos. That's checking my email, paying a particular bill, sending an invoice, whatever it is. Those are the admin things. I sprinkle my admin tasks in last because while they are important and absolutely need to be done, we all seem to have, at least I have a tendency to put way more emphasis on those than is necessary. If I start with my admin tasks, I am stuck in admin mode all day long, and those top priorities are not going to be taken care of. So those are the things that I do to lighten the load and silence the chatter from that invisible to-do list that is constantly cycling around in my head. Now, that is my day to day. That is something that I do each and every day. That being said, some days that is not enough. It doesn't matter how good my intentions are, how clear I am at writing things down, how much thought and planning I put into things. Some days that is not enough. And even once I've sat down and done my little morning exercise to plan out my day with intention, my brain is still going 90 miles an hour and it's still not letting me rest. That's when it's time to pull out the big guns. And that's when it's time to do something a little bit more focused on getting out that mental chatter. This is when I go to a brain dump. Doing a brain dump is one of the best exercises to silence the overactive brain that is constantly shouting out your invisible to-do list items. So this could be on your computer. It could be in a Trello board if you use Trello. It could be in a notebook. I do mine in a notebook. I even have large like presentation size post-it notes. They're like the really big, huge ones you used to see in the corporate world when somebody would come in to do presentations with their smelly markers and things like that. I have some of those and I will put that up and just go crazy with the big paper, writing down all of the things that come to my mind. There are no rules when it comes to a brain dump. And honestly, I should say that is the one and only rule, is there are no rules. Everything that pops in your brain goes into the brain dump, wherever you're putting it, on a computer screen, on a big board, chalkboard, whiteboard, notebook, I don't care where you put it. Everything that pops into your brain, no matter how trivial or silly it sounds, goes into this board. The point of this brain dump is to get everything out and in the open. You are letting every to-do list item that is running through your brain have a voice. You're letting it speak up. You're letting it be heard. You're letting it be seen. And by doing that, you're actually giving it a rest that it needs. And it's like, okay, she's heard me. She's seen me. She knows we need to be taken care of. So now I can calm down and stop shouting, pick me, pick me, pick me. So you do this brain dump. Then from the brain dump, now you start taking a look at this. There are going to be things on this board that really don't matter. things that you were stressing about that you probably didn't even realize you were stressing about that you can immediately scratch out. There are going to be things that, yes, you do want to take care of them, but they don't need to be addressed right away. They might not need to be addressed for days, weeks, maybe even months. It's something that is for the future, and you can plan time to take care of that when it needs to be done. Then you're going to see the things that really are pulling your attention, that really are priorities, that really do need to be done. Now is the time where you can sit down and schedule time to focus on them. By physically putting that on your calendar, like let's say that you want to get your blogs written for the rest of the year. That's something that I do this time of year. I try and finish off the year with all of my blogs so that I have them ready to go and scheduled out, and I don't have to worry about them later. Scheduling time to get those blogs done takes them off that mental invisible to-do list in my head, because now I know I've set aside time to address them. That doesn't mean that when that time on my calendar shows up that I have to work on them necessarily. I will rearrange my calendar often, but I know that I have to have that time. And so when that time comes, if I'm not ready to work on them, or if something else is taken a priority, I know to move it to another time frame and to reprioritize my time to fit my needs. So the big tasks, you want to schedule them out. Schedule time to make sure that they get done, and then follow through with that. Even if you have to rearrange times, you need to make sure that you follow through. Now, I want to give us all a little bit of a warning, because when we get into organization mode, once we've got this brain dump out there and we know what needs to be done, being entrepreneurial brains, we often get a little bit crazy with our organization and go overboard in organization. That, my friends, is much of a procrastinator and a mind clutter as anything else. So find the tools that work best for you, but don't use a bunch of tools. You don't need to have planners, notebooks, calendars, online time trackers or task trackers, all capturing the same thing. Find the tool that works best for you and align with that one. Use that tool to get you organized, and don't fall into that I am going to organize the world trap, because again, that is just another form of procrastination. All right, my friends, that is it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always love having these conversations with you, and please reach out. If something today sparked some interest, inspired you, or gave you an idea that I didn't share, please let me know. I love to hear from each and every one of you, and I cannot wait to connect with you again next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Solo Grind. I hope this episode brought you some inspiration and encouragement. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, and feel free to share it with a friend. For more tips and insights, visit caffeinecreative.io to check out my blog or explore the Solo Grind Central, my free resource library. Find me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'd love to hear how this episode has helped you.